Well, it was fascinating for me to have a chance to participate in this directly. So I hopped on a plane and I flew to Atlanta, where I met a member of the Gold team, and they have some great methods for getting at the bottom of this path to purchase and where shoppers are experiencing friction. And so the first thing they did is they set up shoppers with eye tracking glasses so that we could see exactly what they were looking at as they went through the shopping experience. Now, let me step back for just a second and tell you a couple of things that were interesting for me as a business person participating in the research. It was very clear to me there were two different kinds of shoppers. So the first type of shopper was the shopper that was habitual, the shopper that was on autopilot. These shoppers tend to be buying legacy brands, right? So this is a mature category. It's been around for a long time. Consumers understand it. They've habituated in their shopping behaviors, and those shoppers' needs are generally being quite well met. The other shopper, though, is this whole body shopper, right? That shopper that has acute odor and sweat control needs. They're not on autopilot. They're looking for better solutions. They need information. They need guidance. They need help. And those shoppers are not having a great experience because those extra things they need in order to get comfortable to buy the product aren't available at shelf. Here's how it plays out when you look at it through eye tracking. So the first thing that happens is all shoppers have kind of habituated to start in the strike zone. So in the case of women's products, the number one brand in the category is Secret. The number two brand in the category is Dove. Those two brands, as you can see from this visual, anchor the category, and that's where all the shoppers start in the strike zone. Now, for a lot of consumers, those legacy shoppers that are on autopilot, they find what they need in the first couple of steps. Step 1, 2, 3, they buy the product and they're on their way. But for that whole body user, the one with acute needs that's looking for more information or guidance, they start to scan upward. They move to number 4, number 5, number 6. They're looking for more information. And then they move to the left, still in that scan mode. They're still searching for a product that might better meet their needs. And then if they don't find it, then they come back down to the strike zone. Sometimes they even cascade to the bottom shelves looking for the price brands that are down there to see if anything might interest them. And so if they find what they need, they buy. If they don't find what they need, they run the full cycle, and they may exit the aisle without ever having made a purchase. And so briefly, just talking about that whole body user, the key thing that was very clear from the research was that when they start to scan up at steps 4, 5, 6, and 7, if there's not something there that captures their attention, guides them to the product, and then gives them good information on what the product features and benefits are, they just won't engage. They'll fall back into the strike zone, maybe buy a legacy brand, maybe not, and then exit the category. I just want to share one little anecdote that really illustrates this well. So I was actually standing in the aisle trying to be, inconspicuous with a baseball cap and some sunglasses. And a woman that was one of our shoppers came into the aisle, and she followed this pattern very consistently. She started in the strike zone. Her gaze then moved up to the top shelf, and it looked like to me she was looking right at Lume, which is right behind that number 6. And I thought, okay, well, is she gonna buy the product? She didn't. Her gaze moved to the left, back down to the middle, and then she left the aisle without making a purchase. So, exhibiting the pattern. Well, we interviewed her in the Subway sandwich shop after the shopping experience, and the gold researcher that was leading the research asked her a really interesting question. She had come in pre-screened as a whole body curious shopper. So we were both kind of wondering, well, since she was whole body curious, why didn't she even reach up and pull Lume off the shelf and check it out? And so the researcher said, hey, have you heard of this brand called Lume? And she said, oh yeah, I love that brand. I'm anxious to try it. Had it been on the shelf today, I would have bought it. Now, that product was no more than 12 to 18 inches from the end of her nose. She was looking right at it, but she didn't see it. So that helped me understand, okay, even though the product is on the shelf, consumers aren't necessarily seeing it if they're looking for something in particular and there isn't some collateral or asset on the shelf to guide them to the right product and get them to engage. And so what my friends at Gold would call that is they would call that a point of shopping friction, right? The shopper's on a mission looking for what they need, and the current shelf is not meeting their needs, and it's creating for friction for them that prevents them from buying. That was the biggest takeaway that I got from the research in Atlanta is there are points of friction for these whole body users, and if we don't address them, then trial rates will continue to be suppressed and the brand won't grow.
Jeff, that is such a great example, and thank you for sharing that with the viewers. So many times when we work with other CPG or retail brands, everyone knows that there is brand switching happening at the shelf level, but a lot of times people are just shocked when we come back and tell them that it's north of 70, 80, even 90%. And what you experienced, Jeff, firsthand was how easy is for that friction to occur and for brand switching to also then shape up and happen that ultimately impacts not just revenue numbers, but also is a big contributor towards sales leakage. And so, that is also something I want to highlight for our viewers. This is also why, we recommend to clients in really doing this type of effort in store, in collecting insights in real time. Imagine doing this just as an online survey. There is no way we could have uncovered this insight.
No, for sure.